WHGE 95.3 FM coming up, the Open Eye.
Those of us that indulge in or commit intellectual violence don't do so for the pleasure of mental masturbation or ego diddling. We do so because the chains of oppression in our people's minds are deep and difficult to remove.
Good morning, my children of the sun. Welcome to the Open Eye on WHGE 95.3 FM. I'm your host, Third Eye Optometrist, Patrice Gibbs, ready to open your eye. And as I always start out with, every generation has its purpose. Ours is to reveal the truth and reverse the brainwashing. All right, sorry I'm late. I'll make you understand that. I'll give you the reason why at the end of the show. Okay, public service announcement on Saturday, March 12th at 12 p.m., Legislative Hall, Dover, Delaware. We'll have a mass poor people's and low-wage workers State House Assembly march to the poll. That would be Saturday, March 2nd, 12 p.m., Legislative Hall, Dover, calling all people who believe in and demand living wages, health care, voting rights, stopping voter suppression, equal rights for all, worker labor rights, and the unity of love and the division of hate. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. Let me get my disclaimer out the way. Right quick, okay.
The views and opinions expressed on the Open Eye are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and do not reflect the policy or position of WHGE 95.3 FM nor our sponsor, the Delaware Center for Homeless Vets. Any content provided by Open Eye's hosts, guests, or contributors are theirs and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, company, or individual.
WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. You know, they told us our ancestors added nothing to civilization because they weren't civilized. Yet they filled their museums with stolen treasures from all over Africa, made in the image and likeness of our African ancestors. Oh yeah, that's what they would, who are they? Of course we know who we mean, the West, Europeans, white people, Western academia. You know, they would have us believe that we've contributed nothing to civilization, to mankind. And of course, anyone that knows our history knows nothing could be further from the truth, as we created civilization. We invented civilization. Forget about it. What's the date today? What is it? Today is the 24th, February 21st, 1965. Why is that date significant? That was the day that we lost a great voice. That was the day that we lost a great leader, Malik al-Shabazz, because I'm talking about Malcolm X. This is a quote from his eulogy, which was given by the great Ossie Davis. Consigning these mortal remains to earth, the common mother of all, secure in the knowledge that what we place in the ground is no more now a man but a seed, which after the winter of our discontent will come forth again to meet us. And we will know him then for what he was and is, a prince. Our own black shining prince who didn't hesitate to die because he loved us so. That's an excerpt from Malcolm X's eulogy by Ossie Davis. There's a quote from Malcolm. Malcolm X on second-class citizenship and how the Civil Rights Bill wasn't necessary. That's what Malcolm taught us. If the white people really passed meaningful laws, it would not be necessary to pass any more laws. There are already enough laws on the books to protect an American citizen. You only need additional laws when you're dealing with someone who is not regarded as an American citizen. But whites are so hypocritical. They don't want to admit that this black man is not a citizen. So they classify him as a second-class citizen to get around making him a real citizen. If he was a real citizen, you need no more laws. You need no more civil rights legislation. Civil rights is when, if you have civil rights, you have citizenship. It's automatic. White people don't need laws to protect their citizenship because they're citizens. But they don't want us. We're not citizens. At the same time, they don't want to pass laws that are meaningful enough to protect us as if we were citizens. And the Supreme Court desegregation decision is the best example I know. That's a law from the Supreme Court. 10 years have gone by with no desegregated schools. It hasn't been implemented beyond, I think, 9% in 10 years. So this just shows you the hypocrisy of the American white man. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. There is nothing the white man will ever do to bring about true, sincere rights for the black man. Malcolm said that over 60 years ago. 60 years ago, and we're still passing laws or pushing laws and bills to protect America's black citizens. Laws that should not be necessary. And just recently, a young man in Texas who was who has dreadlocks in his hair, he was kicked off the wrestling team or whatever it was. He was suspended from school, and they took it to court because America has recently passed the Crown Act. This was passed in 2021, 2022? The Crown Act. And what the Crown Act says is that we as black people cannot be discriminated against for the way our hair grows naturally from our head. We're the only people who are punished for the way our hair grows naturally from our head or for wearing our hair in a style that is ours. For instance, dreadlocks, braids, afros. And we're still passing laws to protect that. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this young man goes to court to protect his hair and to make the court push the Crown Act and see to it that the school does not discriminate against him because of his hair. The judge said that the school was not in violation of the Crown Act, and they were right. They were right to punish this young man for wearing his hair the way it naturally grows out of his head. Damn. It's ridiculous. I keep it moving here. Okay. Hey, I see you, Brother Bourne. What's up, Steve? I've talked about this a couple of times, but I'm just not seeing enough about this in the mainstream media. And that's what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay. Another family was treated like Dexter Wade's family when they found out their loved ones was buried behind the Hinds County, Mississippi jail. Now, when I first reported on that, first talked about that, it was 215 bodies in this grave, in this pauper's cemetery behind the Hinds County, Mississippi jail. Further investigation finds that in fact 700 bodies are found buried in back of this Mississippi prison with no organs. Mario Moore, mother, spoke out. She said she had to buy back the rights of her son to be able to bury him properly. They tried to stop her from getting her son's remains. Another family found out that their loved one was buried behind this jail. 700 bodies. 700 families are impacted by this. Why isn't the federal government swooping in to investigate and figure out what the hell is really taking place? We know the answer because most of those bodies are black bodies. These black bodies, their organs are gone. That's profitable. And we know what they will do for profit in this capitalist society. How many of these 700 bodies are victims of murder? That's what we need to know. Because obviously they have a big market for organs, so they're willing to murder people in order to profit off of their organs. God damn. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. All right. Keep it moving here. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. Yeah, I'm going to keep it moving, y'all. All right. Okay. Yeah, it's something. There's a scene from the movie The Color Purple. Okay. And let me mention this right quick before I get into this. Yes, the George Washington's teeth. Okay, where he's commenting on what I was talking about just a minute ago, about how valuable, what a market they have for organs. The mythology is that George Washington had wooden teeth. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. George Washington's false teeth were made from slaves' teeth, from black people he enslaved. They were held down, no anesthetic, and their teeth were pulled out so they could make teeth for their master, George Washington. Father of our country, I'll be damn son of a bitch. Okay. There was a scene in Color Purple where character Oprah Winfrey, the character that Oprah Winfrey played, is a white woman that wanted her character, the black woman, to work for her. And she wasn't interested. And they pushed the issue. And what happened in that with that scene was, the white woman, cried white tears. And as I remember, the sheriff came up and told her she was disrespectful, and Sophie knocked out the sheriff, or punched out the sheriff. She was put in jail, and she was made to work for that white woman. In 1918, a city ordinance was passed in South Carolina to require all able-bodied black women to hold jobs and carry labor identification card, even if they didn't want to work outside of their home. Complaints had been made because white families, couldn't find cooks and laundress, cooks and people to do the laundry. Specifically black women. And when they were refused, this ordinance was passed. I think of things like this, and I have to say that many black women now are grateful to be stay-at-home moms. But what kind of mess is that? It's called slavery, okay? Because you can believe that these black women were not paid well. Not at all. Have to bring up some family history here. My grandmother and her younger sister, my Aunt Janet, were domestic workers. And what they noticed was not only were the domestic workers underpaid, but of course they were mistreated. So what they did was they went to the black women in their community who worked as domestic workers and got them to join forces. None of these people, there was a corner. I want to say on the east side, it might have been on Walnut Street. Some older people might have some knowledge of that, where white women would pull up and hire black women for the day or the week or whatever to be domestic workers in their home. Grandmama and Jenny put a stop to that mess. What they did was they got the domestic workers, like I said, to unify, and the only way you could hire a black domestic worker was to come through my grandmother and Aunt Jenny. And they had to be paid fairly, and it had to be known that they were not going to be mistreated. And the black women that worked as domestic workers were informed and strongly encouraged that if they were mistreated, to walk off that job. WHGE, thank you, Grandma and Jenny. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. I'm your host, Patrice Gibbs. All right. Okay, I'm sure by now you all heard that the orange disaster is in financial trouble. Yeah, when Con man gets in financial trouble, he'll do anything. He'll come up with some scam to try to get money. The orange disaster troubled Trump, has been fined. It was $355 million. That's almost $500 million. He actually, after all these fines really come down, this court call, he's actually about $500 million in debt. And of course, like I said, con men look for new hustles and what have you to get out of situations. And the orange disaster, being a con man, is no different. So what he did was he came out with, what is it called? The no surrender sneaker. If you haven't seen this nasty, tacky looking clown shoe, go online and look it up. Okay? Anybody that buys this, I saw a cat, he got a sign pair. They're gold. They got a T on them. It's some kind of gold foil, gold color, or whatever. They got a T on them and an American flag, and I tell you, Bozo probably wouldn't wear these. They're too clownish for Bozo. And he announced, he announced the manufacturer of these sneakers at SneakerCon. And he got roundly booed when he pulled up these tacky looking sneakers. This past weekend, corrupt Republican presidential hopeful Donald Trump popped up at the last place we all never expected him at SneakerCon. And this year's convention was held in Philadelphia, where shoe lovers came together to trade, sell, and buy all of the most coveted footwear in the game. Trump arrived to a combination of cheers and boos as he took to the stage. Okay? As he took to the stage to announce his newest tacky endeavor, the Never Surrender high tops. Yeah. And these atrocious looking shoes go for $399. And I seen this fool with a signed pair. They were signed by Donald Trump. Paid $9,000 for them. You talk about a sucker. You've been kind, my man. Now, here's the crazy part. There's a Fox News host that suggested that Donald Trump is going to win over Black America with his new sneaker ahead of the 2024 election. And according to TMZ, Fox News host Raymond Aruro said Trump's limited edition sneakers will garner him more favor with Black people because they love sneakers. So we're going to vote for this racist, ignorant, barely literate, con man who was voted the worst president ever because he put out some sneakers. See, that's what they think of it. There's a whole lot of TikTok videos showing this ignorant fool, this so-called newsman Raymond Aruro. Man, yeah, he did. He's gonna get some Black votes now. That's what they think of it. We're so stupid that we're gonna vote for somebody who has let it be known that he hates our people. The reason he attracted so many white votes is because he let it be known that he is a racist bastard. Okay? That he dogged his predecessor with the birtherism crap, talking about Barack Obama. But we're going to vote for him because we like sneakers. Never mind our health care is, you know what? I got this other thing. Never mind our health care is jacked up. Never mind we're still suffering from police brutality. Never mind that we're still incarcerated. Never mind that the median white family wealth is $147,000 and the median black family wealth is $3,600. Because in the 1940s and 50s, the Federal Housing Administration gave white people home loans but denied black people. Those 10,000 homes are now worth $500,000. In our lifetimes, the U.S. government robbed every black family of $500,000. Nikki Haley, America was never racist. But we gonna vote for Trump because he made some goddamn sneakers. The hell out of here. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. What's up, cuz? I see you over there, hot. WHGE 95.3 FM, the Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. You know, how many times have we talked about our health care? I had just mentioned that, so I'm bringing it up. Why can't the U.S. evaluate these healthcare systems in other countries? You know, the top 3 healthcare systems, I think, are Norway, Germany, and Japan. Maybe not in that order. These are the best healthcare systems on the planet. Notice I did not mention America. America's not even in the top 10. I doubt if America is in the, what is 190 countries, or no more than that. However many countries it is throughout the world. America is near the bottom of the list, you can believe that. Why can't the U.S. evaluate these healthcare systems to figure out what the U.S. could do to provide better healthcare that covers more people at less cost? Cures are not profitable. There is no profit in curing people. The profit comes in getting people addicted to these drugs that they put out. That's where the profit is. They're nothing but drug dealers, man. You ain't know that? They ain't nothing but drug dealers. Let me tell you something. Large corporations, insurance companies, private hospitals, and many people have a vested interest in keeping the current healthcare system as inefficient, restricted, and as expensive as possible. These entities make large donations to politicians to ensure the U.S. healthcare system stays the way it is. And you have to wonder, why do the American people allow this? Why do they allow these extreme capitalists to control their healthcare system that is restricted? When I say it's restricted, what do I mean? It means if you ain't got the money or the insurance coverage, you get no health care. How can American people not have empathy for their fellow American and not see it to it that they get health care? I'm going to tell you why. The first president to try to implement a healthcare system that would help all people was Theodore Roosevelt in the early 1900s. In the early 1900s, in the early 20th century, in the century before. The reason that he and every president after him could not implement a healthcare system that would actually help people is because America is so goddamn racist that the ideal that black people might get health care motivates racist white America not to implement a healthcare system that would help everybody. I didn't make that up. That's not an opinion. That's a historical fact, Nikki Haley. America was never racist. The reason we don't have health care is because of racism. There was an insurance man in the early 1900s that surveyed the health of Americans, black, white, otherwise. And what he came up with and what he encouraged insurance companies to do was to provide health care insurance only for whites. Because he determined that if black people were denied health care, eventually they would die out, and this would solve the so-called Negro problem. This would solve the so-called Negro problem by keeping health care away from black. So every effort by those right-thinking politicians or leaders that implement health care that would help everybody was blocked. These ignorant racists whose mindset is we don't mind if it hurts us as long as it don't help them, deny themselves health care. Okay? They have pushed the mindset that health care is for the privileged. It's not a right. Where countries like Japan, the European countries and what have you, Germany, countries in Africa, healthcare is not a privilege, it's a right. We ain't got sense enough to know that. Oh no, you know what they do? It's socialist. It's socialist to give everybody health care. We're going to wind up like Russia. Socialism is going to bring us down. Let me tell you, ignorant fools, socialism is not the same as communism. Communism is when the government sets the rules. Socialism is when the workers set the rules. What we're dealing with here is capitalism, with a very small safety net, a very small socialist safety net. Capitalism is when the bosses and billionaires rule. And that's what we have here. You bent your back. See, socialism on a certain level is okay. Which is why you have corporations and oil companies getting government subsidies while we have people on the street homeless and hungry. Not only do we have people on the street homeless and hungry, but in some parts of the country, as the country reverts to a draconian dystopia, homelessness is against the law. They are actually voting in some districts, in some counties, in some states, in some parts of the country, they are implementing laws that makes it a crime to be homeless. See, this is what they did after slavery. You know, with the so-called vagrancy laws. If you weren't working for some white man and had a place to go, you were put in prison. Now, as they push this ideal that homelessness is against the law, as the rent skyrocket, you look online and look at some of the apartments available in New York and California. It's a goddamn closet for $1,500 a month. Can't even afford that. So what happens? You're put in jail. And what did the 13th Amendment say? The 13th Amendment said slavery is against the law except for those duly convicted of a crime. So your crime is being poor when you can't get a job. Or if you do get a job, you got to work 3 jobs, drive Uber and DoorDash, as well as your regular 8-hour job, and still can't afford the rent, and you're homeless, you go to jail. Working for slave wages already, now you're going to go to jail and be actually enslaved. This is their plan. See, so many of us are already debt slaves. Already debt slaves. If your credit card bill exceeds your income, and on top of paying food and rent and utilities and your phone bill and this, that, and the other, student loan, you got to pay your debt. Capitalism, yeah. And what they would have you believe is that in a capitalist society, you raise yourself up by your own bootstraps, which is something they, often tell the black man. And what did Dr. King say? It's a cruel joke to tell a bootless man to pull himself up by his own bootstraps. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. One of the things that I'm very critical about, of course, is black conservatives. I think they're some of the most foolish, stupid people on the planet. Some of them sound really intelligent. One of them almost fooled me into believing that he was actually intelligent. What's that saying? Sometimes it's better to remain quiet and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and prove yourself to be a fool. Like the Lieutenant Governor from North Carolina, Mark Robinson. I don't understand how someone like this Mark Robinson even comes around black people. Okay, now how can I say that about this man? Because Mark Robinson said that not only are descendants of slaves not owed reparations, but we need to pay. Yeah. What North Carolina Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, he has an unconventional proposal to end the reparations debate once and for all. What if instead of black Americans being compensated for the atrocities of slavery, black people paid out reparations? Robinson, who identifies black, I don't know how he does that. He's running for North Carolina governor. He said, if you want to tell the truth about it, it's you who owes. Why do you owe? Because somebody in those fields took strikes for you. After those fields were ended and slavery was ended, somebody had to walk through Jim Crow for you. Somebody fought wars and died for you. Somebody lived less. Somebody lived less than because they didn't have what you have, and they did it for you. There are people in their graves right now, and there are people, and they are there because they were willing to stand up and fight for you. You know, this idiot was once compared to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That comparison had no validity because the fool that compared him to Dr. King was none other than the orange disaster, Donald Trump. Go to hell, both of you. All right? Yeah. This guy is unbelievable. And when he says somebody fought for you, he's talking about white people. And that we owe them. And we need to stop talking about reparations. You know, I would let him come over to the barbecue because I would poison his ignorant ass. See, he's one of these morons that come with that mess about the 1350 myth. The 1350 myth. For those that don't know what that is. All right, let me break this down. Since the inception of this country, especially after its federal elimination of slavery, the United States has painted black people into the stereotype of being naturally predisposed to being violent criminals. Ain't that something? The most brutal people on the planet. Those that were responsible for the worst form of slavery. Oh yeah, because and I gotta let you know that. Chattel slavery was the worst form of slavery in history ever. Because they want to jump up and say, well, other countries had slavery, Nikki Haley. Okay. They had the nerve to say that African Americans are predisposed to violence. The same people that founded the KKK that went around terrorizing people. The same people that would gather in church and hear the announcement that a black man is going to be lynched. And crowds of them would gather up. Not just the KKK, whole towns of white people will come out in their Sunday best to see a black person murdered. But we're predisposed to violence. Let me tell you something. Violence is a learned situation. And it's a contagion. That people are naturally violent. At least not our people. We weren't naturally violent. Anybody would protect themselves, as Malcolm taught us. But these white people, they came up with this thing about 13%. This is their popular myth. And one that people like, what's his name? This fool I just mentioned. What's his name? What's that fool? Mark Robinson. And Notorious Big Winch, Candace Owens. They perpetuate this myth. 13% of the population, black people are, commit more than 50% of the violent crimes in America. And we know that to be so because 50% of the arrests for violent crimes are black people. Not 50% of the convictions. Now that's pretty damn interesting. That the vast majority of those people that are exonerated and released for false charges, that, what is it, 70 to 90% of those people are black people. It's a myth. The myth that black people commit over 50% of violent crimes is not true. Without proper evidence and a surefire way to prove the guilt and valid imprisonment of black people, there is no way to prove that black people do in fact commit all the violent crimes that they are arrested for. That's why 70 to 95% of those exonerated and cases are overturned are black people. Because we're over-policed. That's how 13% of the population are 51% of those arrested. Okay. I don't understand how people still see the United States as some moral compass of freedom and democracy for the world to model after, because America has literally been on the wrong side of history every goddamn time. Okay? Every time America's track record comes up, from its inception, America murdered the Native American, or the indigenous people. America enslaved, kidnapped and enslaved black people. America murdered families and children in Vietnam. America put Japanese Americans, many of whom were born here, in internment camps and killed them. America helped the Nazis. Don't get it mixed. Oh, yes, they did. They saved a bunch of Nazis before the end of World War II and brought them over here. They saved the Nazi scientists. That's where our space program came from. Oh, we know America lied because it was proven that America lied about weapons of mass destruction and murdered millions in Iraq and Afghanistan. America is still segregated and participating in slavery. America is killing people who are seeking refuge from their violent governments that America had a hand in destabilizing. Okay, America has stripped women of the right to bodily autonomy. Like I said earlier, America has made it illegal to be homeless in so many places. And has also made it legal to kill homeless people in certain areas of this country. America is on track of averaging about 43,000 deaths due to gun violence every year. And America has not done a goddamn thing about it. But we're predisposed, black people are predisposed to violence. Not once has America initially been on the right side of things happening in this world. America is a great example of what not to do in this world. When we talk about propaganda and mind control, I need you to understand that 95% of every album you buy, CD, magazine, newspaper, DVD, they control information. All right? That's what they do. That's why we do the open eye. And as we always tell you, destiny determines who enters your life, but you decide who stays. Therefore, value those who value you and don't treat those as a priority who treat you as an option. All right? Before I go, I want to let you know something here. My brother and dear friend Nsoromma is quite ill. He is in the hospital. He's in intensive care. His family asked that we not say too much about his situation or exactly what it is. I want you to keep my brother in prayer and send him positive energy. Okay? And hopefully my brother will be back soon. Hang in there. And like I said, send my brother positive energy. Keep him in your prayers. Love you, brother Nsoromma. We know you're going to be all right. WHGE 95.3 FM, The Open Eye. I'm Patrice Gibbs. All right. Peace.